Hello everyone, it's Vicky here today, designing for Simple Stories, and I am using the Vintage Berry Fields collection. And this is one of the newer collections from Simple Stories, and it's full of like farmers market type strawberries and berries and butterflies and bees, very pretty. So I'm starting out, my idea is I want to have a coloured pattern paper background, but I don't want it to be the whole way up. So I'm just tearing a piece of paper that's slightly shorter than my page, and I'm going to tuck another piece in behind it and just create a little shelf at the top. And then I have these 3 photos of my niece, and there's some red in these photos, so I thought they would work perfectly with this collection. And I have 3 photos there. I actually only use 2, so you'll see my thought process on that in just a second. So I stick down the 2 papers that I have and just trim off the edge there. My white cardstock was a bit bigger for some reason. That's probably because I didn't cut the manufacturer's strip off fully. And here I am thinking about, am I going to use 3 photos? Am I going to use 2? And I fiddle things around a little bit. And in the end, I realised that 3, they were a bit too big to have 3 on there. So I settled on 2. And I'm already thinking about my title, and I want to use Berry Sweet. So for now, I'm just going to take out Sweet and check that I'm happy with the position that I want to put it. And I'm just putting some powder on the back of it to stop it being sticky, because if I want to be able to move it around, I don't want it to stay where I first put it, just in case I need to move it. And as you can see, I did move it a little bit. So here we go. I have the berry part as well. So that's where my title's going. And now I want to build underneath the photos. So I'm going to start off by doing a cluster at the bottom of the page. And I'm picking out a couple of embellishments from the chipboard and the foam and the die cuts, which you'll see coming out. But there's a couple of chipboard pieces down there. And I'm just sort of going to do a lot of layering here at this bottom cluster. So that's from the bits and pieces, lots of little piece of ephemera, really. I guess what you would call pure ephemera. It's sort of vintage envelopes and tags and tickets and things like that. And I put some under the photos and in the bottom cluster. And then I use this little piece that has a film reel on it. Not a reel, like a viewfinder on it. And I quite like that on there. I want to add strawberries, of course, because that's what is in this kit a lot. So I want to keep to that theme. And I love the bicycle. I think that the chipboard one works slightly better. So I'm going to use that one. Haven't stuck anything really down yet. I'm just sort of placing things on just to see what I can do and moving things around and just generally trying to figure out how this is going to look. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with how this is looking at the moment. What I don't like is the little bit of white in between on the chipboard. I want to cut this out to hollow it out. And I know on chipboard it's super difficult to do that, to cut out the inside pieces. So there's always that option to do that for yourself. And I cut it out in layers. So I put my knife through, rather than try to go through the whole thing, which I think would be really difficult. I'm putting the knife in, peeling a little bit off, and then doing it again and doing it again. So I think I did it 3 times. And on the 3rd time I went through pretty much through the chipboard. And then when I take the backing off, I can also peel off that first layer of sticky, and then I've got my hole there. That works perfectly. And also it makes it non-sticky so that I can move it around. So I'm happier with how that looks. I use a little nail file just to scrape off a few bits around the edge to make it neater. And I do actually do something different with that bicycle in a minute, but you'll see what I do. So I'm going to start to stick my cluster down because I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how it looks and where everything is. And I just want to make sure that that's stuck. And I'm just using, like, curling up the corners a little bit of that ticket just to add a bit of dimension. And I'm going to add one of these sticky brads to the viewfinder. And there we go, the little piece of chipboard's going back on top. So I'm happy with that for now. Let me see, what am I doing next? Okay, this is, I do decide to add a tag into this because I wanted to add some thread onto the page somewhere just for a bit of extra interest. So I cut out this tag. I also want to bring a bit of the green down the bottom from the top. So just to sort of balance that out. And I cut out the tag, I punch the hole, and then I cut a bit off the bottom and tuck it in right there with my cluster. And I'm going to use the red thread to tie a bow. And I haven't stuck that, I've just realised watching it that I haven't, so I'll need to go back and do that. Don't want to lose it in my album. So I'm sticking my photos now to the tickets and tags that I used up the top, and I'm going to put some foam on the back to raise them off the page. So this is just sticky back foam that I always use. It's sticky one side and not the other. So I use wet glue or double-sided tape to stick it down. And I think in this instance I use double-sided tape. Now here is where I decide to cut the bicycle in half, which is a bit radical, I know, but it puts it on my page without setting the balance off. I thought if I just put it on one side, my balance wasn't going to be right on the layout. So I thought if I split it and put it both sides, it works much better. So I still get the bicycle, but it's more balanced, if that makes sense. So I love that. I'm going to stick down my title just above the photos there and on the white, and that sort of makes that pop off the page. I think that would have been lost on the red and white stripe. I'm going to add a bit of the a floral chipboard on top of the strawberries that I have there, and that little tag says "So Berry Good," which is pretty cute. I've got some strawberries here which I'm going to put up by the title. I think about putting one each side, but actually I then put them both the same side, and I think they're far enough over the photo that the balance is still there. There's a little bee, which I'm sticking on now. Love that, and little hearts. And then the last thing I put on, I think, is some enamel dots. These are really cute because they're sort of translucent and really pretty. So I'm going to put 3 of the yellow and 3 of the red just there. And that's it. I think about a butterfly and I don't do it, but that's the end. That's the final layout. I really hope this has inspired you to use the Vintage Berry Fields. It's a beautiful collection, and not just for vintage photos, although these are, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. I wouldn't call them vintage. There are some close-ups there for you to have a look at. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know and I'll be happy to answer them, and I'll link up the products that I used below. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Vicky for Simple Stories. Bye-bye.